Welcome race fans, it's time for the DSPN report. I'm Tom Spanners Watson.
And I'm Frank the Guru Gibbs.
It's another big one, so let's crack into it. Now first up, the DIRS finally kicks off on Monday US time next week. It's going to start over at Transport Diecast and it's going to be there for a month. From there it moves to Monster Motorsport, from there on to RTR Diecast Racing League, over to Jackson Pass Speedway, down to We Race Diecast, and then over to Live Young Diecast, and we may also try and slot in a bonus track there, so keep an eye out for that one. We could get up to 8 tracks before they come all the way down to Chaos Canyon in New Zealand for the big final.
Now speaking of Chaos Canyon, we are kicking off on Monday our GT Manufacturers Cup, and this is going to be big for us as well. This is 8 cars racing at a time on the track. We've only done this once before with NAS Carnage. It's going to be mental. Keep an eye out for that one.
Now, my Hotwheels Collection did a really cool video this week of the Rescue Ranger and all the different casting variations. So he was showing, with each casting that came out, what was different on it. It was really interesting to have a look at.
And then Mike Mays over at RTR did a Mike Mays Makes, and he was demonstrating how to make those trees there. Really interesting video, particularly if you're just getting into putting a diorama on your track. Go and check that one out over at RTR Diecast Racing League.
And finally, EVOSparks did a review of this diorama set. So they did one a couple of weeks ago on a mat, I think it was, but really interesting. If you're looking for dioramas for your Hot Wheels, check that one out.
Now we're going to kick off drag racing with Skorpio Love Smith, and he did a Mario Kart drag race, and there were some really good races. I love this one here, where the car in that third lane was behind for quite a bit of the race, but then pulls ahead. And then in this one here, you see the red Yoshi there gets out just a little bit in front, and he just puts the hammer down and absolutely storms away with it right at the end.
Okay, then we are over to DAE for some more drag racing, and this particular race here was super tight, very impressive.
Now Irons Diecast, this one isn't your normal drag race, it's the one that we really like where it goes from a lane to a wide track, so it just throws that little bit of chaotic element into it.
Then Milk Monster, this one wasn't your traditional drag race, it was on a 6-lane and it was laned almost to the end, but it did have that 180-degree corner, but still very entertaining to watch.
Then Hotwheels Boys in New Zealand had just some very tight drag racing, and I really like that one with their little double wiggle in it.
Then Mr. Mom's Racing had their car hauler race. This is awesome. I love seeing trucks go down the track, and these ones with the cars on the back was just awesome.
And Michael's Diecast Garage had the Swiss Cheese Invitational Tournament, so these are the cars with the holes drilled all through them. Go and check that one out, Michael's Diecast Garage.
Now Simpson Diecast Racing opened up a bunch of treasure hunts and let them run, and that's what they're designed for. They're not designed to sit in packets, and we love that he did that. Go and check that out. It's some really good racing, and he's also got an update on his daily monster truck racing.
And then finally in drag racing, we've got Main Street Drags, and they did their 4x4 pickups drag racing, which isn't something you see a lot of normally, but it was some very good racing. Go and have a look at that.
Alright, we're just going to take a short break and we'll be right back with all of the tournament action. Welcome back. Let's crack into the tournaments. Game Table Café, we featured these guys the other week in Track Spy, but they are fully into their tournaments now, so if you haven't seen it, go over and check out their channel. If you like what they're doing, make sure you subscribe. And that goes for all of the channels. As always, there are so many good channels out there. There's got to be something out there that you like. Make sure you like them, comment, subscribe. It helps all of the channels.
Now, Commotion Diecast over at Death Mountain had some very tight racing. This particular one was between 2 FTEs, and these things were flying. Just a great track, and we love his commentary. It's hilarious to listen to. He's just got some brilliant turns of phrase. Absolutely love it.
Top Driver. Now we saw just this week that it looks like they're either extending the track or maybe replacing it. So I don't know how many more races they've got to go on this track, but we still really like this particular track. But if they're going to extend it and make it even longer with bigger races, that's going to be awesome to see as well.
Now, a new track, Monster Motorsports. We've been teasing this one for ages. Huge shout out here. He is doing something that nobody else is doing. His live racing is incredible. It's got replays, slow motion, insane graphics, just fantastic production values. If you haven't seen Monster Motorsports, you have to go and check it out. He is part of the DIRS. He's stop number 2. So basically in March, we'll be kicking off on his track. Go and check it out. I highly, highly recommend it.
Absolutely, mate. I second that. Great track to check out. All right. The JLH Crafts truck racing series continued on for Sub 4 R8. I really like this race here. There's always lots of chaos in their races with the fat track and a huge number of cars on the track. But did you catch it? Look at this. That green truck there just gets flipped right off the track in the first corner.
Diecast Dragger was out in the snow yet again, and you can see the cars skating around on that black ice. This track is incredible. I mean, props, dude. It looks freezing cold, and it seems really weird for us down here because it's our summer, and so seeing all this snow and cold and people wrapped up and stuff is just really odd because we've been hanging out at the beach and it's been awesome.
There's no need to rub it in, Guru. I'm sure they realise how cold it is. Alley Cat Racing was also outside, and it was wet. Look at the lake that's forming after the finish line there. There's a bit of water on the track, but just some great races, and I love the slow-mo here where you see the cars blazing through the water. It's just really cool to see it splashing around like that, and then through the finish line. That truck at the front just didn't seem to have any problems whatsoever, storming away from the field. Very, very cool.
Now, We Race Diecast did Thor versus Loki, and as you know, those two brothers never play well. Go and check that one out. They are also part of the DIRS, and we've got a little snippet coming up a bit later of the new track that is going to be in the DIRS. So this is part of his standard racing, but the new track is going to kick off soon.
Right, Roadrunner Raceway. Looks like they've made some changes to their track, and this thing is fast. These cars were blazing down. Really good work, guys. Really like how you're expanding the track.
M&M Racing League. Again, they've moved away from their drag racing and more into this race, but we love this one here. Check this out. The Mustang in behind pulls the perfect line going around that last corner, goes around the outside and just absolutely nails his line and makes a beautiful pass right before the finish. It's such a good race.
Now, Hot Car Track had the final of the Australia versus USA Utes and Trucks competition, and I really like this race here. You see the Hilux there get spun around. USA jumps in front, but then rolls it, and through come the Aussies.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
All right, Frank, settle down.
Oh, come on, mate. You've got to celebrate stuff like this. I mean, that Aussie almost got wiped out by the USA, then manages to get it back under control, holds his nerve, and then drives beautifully around him instead of just getting stuck in behind, and takes the win for Aussie.
Now, Transport Diecast Racing had the finals of the Miatas at the Crest, and this is a great race, some really close racing. You see here the black car in behind, but catches up and tries to overtake twice. But remember, the DIRS kicks off at Transport Racing on Monday US time. You're definitely going to want to be part of this from the beginning. Make sure you jump over. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and remember to leave a like and a comment while you're there.
Now, Cleveland Diecast Racing was back with his trucks, and I just love seeing these big semi trucks going down the track. It's just so much fun to watch these things slamming down the track, and amazing how well controlled a lot of them actually are.
And Indiana Diecast had more plethora of party wagon racing action, and these things are just so much fun to watch. This short wheelbase just seems to get super loose on the track, but in this race here, you see this guy out in front, seems to have a huge lead, spins out, almost loses it completely. Second place comes along, taps him across the finish line essentially. Lots of racing action there.
Now, Low Country Diecast Racing League were a little bit late with their race this week, and apparently that was due to a major illness. So, mate, I hope you're doing okay. Hope everything's managed to fix itself and you're back up and running. Take care of yourself. Make sure you go over and have a look at the racing. There's some great racing on that channel as well.
More epic racing action over at Meal Ticket Raceway on this monster course. Now, something we haven't really talked about is the phenomenal amount of cars that are parked around the track. So it's not just the monster track and all the cars racing. But as the cars go down, have a look at the number of cars and trucks and everything else that are parked around there. Look at that, just shelf after shelf of them. It's just incredible.
DRC in their new track, some really good racing action, but we love this one here where the Mustang just gets completely loose and wipes out the other guy because he parks on the centre barrier. I mean, it was only a little jump, but he goes a little bit squirrely, bounces off the inside, and then just parks himself up there, crashes both of them out.
Now, the Amigos Diecast Racing have their Tough Enough tournament, and their new track is awesome. We're really, really loving it. Lots of action happening on the track, people crashing, close overtakes, and of course that crossover before the finish, just brutal, but so entertaining to watch.
And speaking of entertaining, 3D Botmaker again, bringing it with the McLeod Memorial Race Final. And we're just going to show this short clip here, where you see this gold van on the inside, tries to change lanes, and the other two go, no mate, you're out. Look at this, parks himself in there and just gets munted back out.
Classic, mate. All right, Checkered Flag Contention had their F1 race series, and look at this one, right into the first corner. One guy goes straight up, doesn't even turn. It's like he doesn't have steering or something, and then somebody else gets nailed by him as well. You see it here in the replay, just goes up, slams into the top barrier, and gets bounced down. It was brutal.
Now, Wallside Diecast Racing, and by the way, nice new graphics, guys, had some good racing. And Spanners, this is your race, isn't it?
Yeah, look, this guy tried to cut me off, so I had to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a little bit mean, mate, throw him off the track, but at least you won that race, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll just stop that clip there. Okay, Hot Wheels Calgary have daily racing action over on their channel, but Aaron just mentioned that there's going to be some changes to the track, so it might be pulled down and replaced with something new. Have a look at the channel to keep up with what's going on there.
Nines Diecast, more racing action from the 9 packs, and this one here was quite interesting. That Corvette gets spun around coming out of the first turn, and then here just rolls it right before the finish. Lucky for him, he gets pushed across the finish line.
And finally in tournaments, Poverty Hollow continued on with their vintage castings. This was 1990s to 2000s, and this race was so tight. Going in through his first few corners, they were side by side, and then one car just manages to pull away, but some great racing action there. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out.
Cool, after all that, mate, can I just take a quick break? Cheers.
And we're back into street racing. We kicked off the Outlaws, and we had to bring in the 2 new drivers. So here we've got in the red Raquel Rising, driven by Kit Kayam, and our new driver in 5-0, the police car there. And these guys were so tight coming into Kahuna Corner, but 5-0 not backing down, taking his line and taking the win. And we also had the first new batch of drivers fighting for a spot on the list. So 2 drivers went through, and there was some epically close racing in the massive 20-minute round robin race between all 9 drivers.
Alright, 3D Botmaker street racing back into his King of the Mountain qualifying tournaments, and this was all Mustangs, and there were some beautiful rides here, but there was, as always, quite a bit of action just over the finish line with people crashing and bashing each other. It seems a bit rough with such beautiful cars, but that's racing.
Ooh, that's going to leave a mark. Massenbot had his RX-7 tournament, and this particular one here, you see this green RX-7 well out in front of the field, and then here you see the blue one pick up a huge amount of speed and just do a beautiful overtake. Very cool.
Then Chapman Films had their Friday night cheese races, and this one here was super tight. Both cars coming around door to door in the first corner and just crossing the finish line a little bit sideways.
Into special events, we talked before about Diecast Dragger being outside. Well, there's a couple of other channels that have also gone outdoors. This one here with a custom snow-built track over at Flat Rabbit doing 2 different events. So it's part of the Scarnage Winter Games. And I just love that monster truck with the jump and then that massive roll over the finish line. Very epic. And a great score there. And then making a sandwich while commentating on the drag racing that happened.
Now, you mentioned there that there's another track, and this is Josh over at Rust Belt Racing, out in the snow doing 2 side-by-side races. And again, As you'd expect in a rough, natural course like this, there's going to be crashing and bashing, lots of accidents.
And speaking of crashing and bashing, Sonora Diecast pulled off the Mad Max Fury Road. And look at this carnage here. They blew up a train. I love it. Wiping out all over the place. It is an absolutely brutal track. But well done, guys. It was super entertaining to watch. If you haven't seen that, go and check out Sonora Diecast.
Now, another track in the DIRS coming up is Live Young Diecast. So he's doing his Baja Road drags at the moment, which is quite an entertaining little track. But keep an eye out for them as well. Later on, they'll be the last track in the US at this stage as part of the DIRS, but they've got plenty of racing on their channel up until then.
Now, another favourite of ours is Beaverworks, and we just love the stoned road. I mean, it's such a hard one. It looks quite easy. It's only about 1 meter long, but I love this Dodge Power Wagon here with those huge wheels. Almost makes it to the finish, but he's added in those new logs at the end there to make it a bit tougher.
And then we're into Brunhilde Hills Race Complex, and I think they call it the stunt racing, but it's basically a single car rally where they've just got an absolutely brutal finish.
Track Spy tonight sees 164 Underground Diecast Racing League. So this is a new track that's just launched. They're still building, still adding some diorama, but it looks like there's going to be some epically good racing over there. And then we've had a sneak peek at Clutch Mountain. So this is from We Race Diecast. We mentioned this before. They're part of the DIRS. This is the track that's going to be in the DIRS. He's obviously still got some finishing to do, but it's looking really cool. So keep an eye out for that one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you go and do that.
Now, Stunt of the Week this week goes to the Binford 5000 and Tim the Toolman Taylor from Widowmaker Run. I don't know what he was doing, but he decided to just blaze off through the side of the track and almost wiped out the Outlaws, and that could have been the end of his career right there. But luckily he managed to avoid everyone.
Can you imagine if he'd actually hit any of the Outlaws cars? Ooh, he would have been in trouble. Alright, that's enough from us. Thanks very much for watching. We've enjoyed having you. We hope you've enjoyed it. Check out the GT Manufacturers Cup on Chaos Canyon next week. It's going to be huge. And of course, don't forget to check out the DIRS kicking off at Transport Diecast Racing League on Monday US time.
And a reminder, whether you're new to diecast racing or whether you're an old hand, make sure you head over to redlinederby.com for all of your information on races, tracks, all that sort of stuff. Check it out.
Thanks very much for watching. I'm Tom Spanners Watson. He's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We'll see you next time.